do you believe that personal retirement accounts can help us achieve solvency for the system and make those future retiree benefits more secure?
Well, I wouldn't say that the pay-as-you-go benefits are insecure in the sense that there's nothing to prevent the federal government from creating as much money as it wants and paying it to somebody. The question is, how do you set up a system which assures that the real assets are created, which those benefits are employed to purchase? So it's not a question of security. It's a question of the structure of a financial system which assures that the real resources are created for retirement, as distinct from the cash. The cash itself is nice to have, but it's got to be in the context of the real resources being created at the time those benefits are paid, so that you can purchase real resources with the benefits, which of course are cash.
Mm-hmm.
Folks, I got to tell you, that right there is Alan Greenspan bitch slapping Paul Ryan. He's taken Paul Ryan, grabbed him by the feet. You didn't see this because it was like one of those like anime type things in the mind. It was a Jedi mind trick where Alan Greenspan grabbed Paul Ryan by the ankles and did a helicopter swirl, banging his head against like marble columns and just smacking the taste out of his mouth. What he just sat there and said was so vital, so absolutely vital to anybody that wants to actually save Social Security. Alan Greenspan said straight up, there is no solvency issue whatsoever. None, zero, with Social Security. And Alan Greenspan was the chairman of the Federal Reserve at the time. Now, if the Federal Reserve is the place that's telling the government not to spend on the people, if they're actually the ones, if you think for a minute that the Federal Reserve is saying, hey guys, don't you dare spend on Medicare for all. Don't you dare expand Social Security. Don't you dare give a cost of living increase to seniors. Don't you dare. It's not the way it works. Paul Ryan said that our government can create money at will whenever it needs to for spending on the people. If it wants to, spend on other things too. The issue wasn't whether or not Social Security would ever be insolvent. The question was, do we have a system by which seniors receiving that kind of money without any kind of productive output would be able to accommodate the real resources that they could purchase with those Social Security dollars? Tonight, we're going to be talking about Social Security for a little bit, and we're not going to get into the big history of it all. What we're going to talk about is why Democrats in particular focus on this silly nonsense, partisan gibberish lie that talks about Republicans raiding the Social Security Trust Fund. Look, Republicans are bad, whatever. Horrible, evil, wicked, whatever. But trust funds are not real. They're fake. They're an accounting tool. They're like a spreadsheet. They use them to say, hey, so-and-so put this much in, boom. And it's literally just a spreadsheet. It is literally not a real trust fund. It's not something that the government is beholden to and it can't do anything more than that. It's just an accounting tool. Nothing more. Nothing more. And this came up today because I was really dismayed because a young rising star in the Justice Democrats and Sarah Smith out there in Seattle decided to start tweeting and fanning the flames about how, stealing from the Social Security Trust Fund. Now, that might score you a few silly political points for the people that are going to vote for you anyway. But it is literally a lie. And it's not only a big lie, it is a lethal lie. Why is that? The people that are quote unquote trying to save Social Security are actually making it seem like Social Security needs to be saved. Do you understand that once you crack open the seal and make it look like the government is inept at providing seniors Social Security, then all of a sudden the fiscal conservatives can come in and say, see, it's not the right thing. We've got to take it to Wall Street. We've got to privatize Social Security because, after all, the government can't do anything right. Raise your hand if you've ever heard someone go running around like a chicken with their head cut off, screaming and yelling about the Republicans raiding the non-existent Social Security Trust Fund. Raise your hand if you're the one that did that, or if you know someone that did that. Now, I'm going to be really honest. I never did it. Even before I understood MMT, I didn't do it. But that's because there was something inside me that made me realize something doesn't make sense. They always have money to give to Israel. They always have money to blow up somebody. They always have money to do these other things. How is it possible that Social Security is so different? And then invariably I get someone saying, oh no, Steve, you've got to look at the books. You've got to look. Social Security is a trust fund. Honest to God, Steve. See this piece of paper I get every year? It tells me how much I've paid every year into Social Security. So I know that's my money. This goes back way, way back. Way, way back. What happens when people think something is too good to be true? Think about The Matrix, the movie The Matrix. You remember the woman in the red dress? You remember eating the steak going, I know this ain't steak, but damn it, I think it is. And I'm going to go ahead and live life as if it's steak because I don't want to live in this fucked up world that really, really is falling apart around me, right? So they went ahead and made Social Security something we all put our skin in the game in. That way you feel like you're getting something back at the end because you couldn't imagine living your life and then suddenly getting this bucket of cash or these monthly payments for no reason at all, other than just, I don't know, being a citizen. The neoliberals have continued to push for privatization of this. Do you all remember even Hillary Clinton was willing to consider it? See, people that don't understand economics, they tend to try to make you believe things because it's political. These fuckers try to make you believe in partisan shit. I don't care if it's true or not. If it scores them a quick little hard-on for a political point, they'll say it. But see, that's why we keep staying stuck. Social Security isn't broke. In fact, for you UBI people out there, can you imagine somebody so completely inept saying they want a UBI, but then believing Social Security is broke? Can you imagine being that guy or that gal? You would have to literally be empty in the cranium. There'd have to be zero brain matter in your cranium to believe that. Every single tax dollar, be it FICA tax, Medicare tax, any of these other taxes, every single one of them is deleted. But there's an accounting entry made. And then every time they make a payment, you notice that the payments for Social Security don't say from the Social Security Administration. They say from the Treasury. Every single Social Security payment is a check from the Treasury. How is that possible? It's not possible. But they had to convince people years and years ago, and we still do it today, that their hard-earned FICA dollars are sitting there waiting for them in retirement. Now, Anybody that wants a UBI really doesn't understand economics. Not at all. Not at all. Like zero. But it's conceivable to have a basic income, an expanded basic income through Social Security for people that are elderly and for people that are incapacitated, etc. Now, I know some people are okay with doing this combined job guarantee basic income thing, but let me explain something to you. This is very important. There's a reason why the Koch brothers are ecstatic that people want a UBI. There's a reason for it. There's a reason why people refuse to think of Social Security as a basic income, which it really is. See, there are horrible people in the world, evil, wicked, psycho people in the world that want a UBI because it will allow them to rip apart the social safety nets and destroy every bit of the New Deal, every bit of the social fabric of society. Here's your UBI. Now go shut up and just suffer quietly. You've got your money. What are you, irresponsible? Why can't you afford it? Oh, I don't care if they raise prices. That's your problem. You've got a UBI. Unfortunately, these pop culture bullshit things are going to be affecting those of us who actually know better. And that makes me fucking rage. That makes me rage that people that don't know better, that don't understand economics, that don't understand why the Koch brothers are going, yes, please push for a UBI. Please push for a UBI, you fools. Because they want us to have to go to private businesses for all of our needs. By financializing our existence through Wall Street, by pushing out everything to for-profit industries, they leave us prey to the vultures. But yeah, let's go for a UBI, guys. Doesn't it sound wonderful? No. Stop falling prey to pop culture bullshit. It's important to learn and be smart and never, ever, ever allow pop culture people that can't explain economics to lead you around by the nose, because they will lead you right into the tar pits. They will lead you off a cliff, as we keep seeing over and over again. Social Security needs to be expanded. And let me go one further. Instead of raising the cap on FICA, they need to eliminate FICA altogether. It is a regressive tax that disproportionately hurts the poor and the elderly. There, I said it. You need to get rid of FICA altogether and increase the payments. Let me say that again. We need to eliminate FICA taxes altogether and increase the Social Security payments. Now, let's talk about some of the games that have been played in the same vein that Social Security was played. War bonds. We've talked about this in the past. But back in World War II, when they were going around drumming up patriotism, they were all drumming up patriotism, right? Bringing the war heroes back, telling them to go out and sell war bonds. Now, why do you think the government sold war bonds? I'm just curious. I want to see how many of you guys think that our federal government needed the money to take and crush fascism. I'm wondering how many of you think that the government needed your hard-earned dollars to go crush fascism. How many of you think that? I bet you it's a lot more than they want to admit. During World War II, every factory in America was running around the clock. We had zero productive capacity left except for the war machine. Zero. We were at more than full employment. The men and women or the men, I should say back then, went off to fight and die in a war. The kids and the moms were left to answer phones and work in factories. There was no time to go running around for free time and spending money on leisure stuff. And the economy was overheating because everybody was completely full employed. The factories were maxed out. And we were at a point where if we didn't slow the economy down, we were going to be in for another massive crisis. Another freaking massive financial crisis. So a tool that the government uses is to sell bonds or war bonds. They don't use it to fund the war machine. They used it to take money out of the economy to slow it down. Now, there are people out there, we call them bond vigilantes, that love to sell you the idea of how important bonds are to the U.S. government. Bonds today are nothing more than war bonds of old. They simply work as a gas pedal and a brake for the economy. We do not use bonds to actually pay for our government. People refuse to understand this because they have been programmed for freaking forever to believe this moronic nonsense. And it's even harder to shake them out of it. But the fact is, we sell bonds today as a means of offsetting potential inflation. We sell bonds as a rote old, just an anachronism. We could get rid of them. We could set a zero interest rate policy at the Federal Reserve. Have a permanent zero. They call it ZIRP. Look it up. Z-I-R-P, ZIRP. Warren Mosler believes we should have ZIRP forever. Stephanie Kelton believes we should have ZIRP forever. All MMTers think we should have ZIRP forever. And anyone with a brain thinks we should have ZIRP forever. Except for the bond vigilantes that would lose their jobs running around peddling bullshit. So let's go back to Social Security for a minute. Each of these is a tool to pull money out of the economy. We need brakes. We need stoppers. We need different things in the economy to give us, like, I don't know what you want to call it, like lesser buying power to slow things down. But unfortunately, we talked ourselves into believing that we have to pay for things doing this. So now, instead of it just being used as a brake pedal to the economy, you've got worthless losers that have been elected to Congress running around saying we need things to be revenue neutral. How are you going to pay for it? How are you going to pay for it? The whole stinking time that Bernie and Hillary were going back and forth, Hillary kept asking, well, how are you going to pay for it? Now, here's the critical problem. For those of you who love to bash Bernie, you'll get a kick out of this. For those of you who love Bernie, you're going to have a heartache over this. I'm just going to tell you the truth. And if the truth hurts you, that's on you. That's got nothing to do with me. That's your bag. You got to go home, look in the mirror, and deal with your hurt feels. Bernie Sanders is a politician. And Bernie Sanders is not going to say things that ruffle his supporters' feathers because he needs his supporters to support him. But what happens to make change? Bernie's supporters, Jill's supporters, Greens, Blues, whoever, need to bubble up the truth from the bottom up to force change, because a politician's first job is to get elected. Their second job is to get reelected. And the third job, if they happen to get to it, is to serve the people. Isn't that terrible? But that's the way it works. We have to find candidates that are willing to go and say, you know what, I'll be a one-termer. I'm going to tell the truth. But that's not where we're at right now. So given the context, Bernie has done everything in his power to provide himself with economists that will help make these changes happen. That's why you see Kelton running around talking about student debt relief. That's why you see Kelton running around talking about a federal job guarantee. That's why you see Kelton out there front and center with Jane Sanders talking about these things. But you look across the Democrat roster, and almost to a fault, they fan the flames about debt. They fan the flames about deficits. And they never miss a partisan shot to take a swing at somebody about, oh my God, he's blowing up the deficit. Now, for low IQ folks, they'll think that I'm somehow or another defending Trump. Trump's an asshole. It's got nothing to do with Trump. I'm pure truth. I don't care about your partisan bickering. I don't care about your party loyalty. I don't care about your heroes. I care about truth. I care about you and I. I care about our kids. And I want to make sure that everyone, my mother, your mother, our kids, us even, have services available to us. Because our parents didn't fight like they should have for these things. And I'll be damned if I'm going to my deathbed saying I didn't do it. So as we look at this, you can go step by step by step and realize that not only can the federal government provide a cost of living increase to match what it should be in 2018, but it can provide a million other services needed to make this economy go crazy. The reason that they don't do that, aside from the fact that you and I apparently aren't smart enough to figure out that it's in our best interest that the government spend on us. But there are people out there who think that we've got to cut spending in the military before we can spend on the people. Before we can do anything, we got to cut military spending because we got to find the money. Folks, finding the keystrokes. Now, you may think that this is a benign issue. Oh, well, Steve, who cares, man? We should cut the military. We should cut the military. But the problem with all these cuts before you do something is this. Number one, just because you cut spending somewhere doesn't mean that there's more money sitting there waiting to be spent on something else. The government neither has dollars nor doesn't have dollars. It creates them when it spends it into existence. Please hear what I just said. The government neither has dollars nor does not have dollars. It spends them into existence. So by cutting spending somewhere, you haven't infused the economy with more spending. So just because you win the tax war, where you raise taxes on something, or just because you win the war on cutting something, doesn't mean that you've won the war on spending on a program. Now, when I talk about this stuff, really, really, really bad people try to take exception with me. Again, I don't care about your partisan stuff. I don't. In fact, I just hear like peanuts, wah, 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 when you do it. I'm talking pure economics, nothing more. I'm talking about operations within the federal government, nothing more. I'm not talking about how you feel about it. I don't care. I mean, I do. I want you to care because I want you to succeed. I want us all to succeed. But I won't accommodate for 2 seconds someone's partisan loyalties being offended because I'm telling the truth. If that happens, that's on you. Deal with it. Get a therapist. Set a 10, Farley. This is so important to all of our benefit, to all of our existence, that if we don't get this now, trust me, if it isn't the Republicans, it will be the Democrats that somehow or another come in to save the day and save Social Security, and the neoliberals push it to Wall Street, and then we're screwed. And for every person out there trying to save Social Security, you'll be the one that caused it. You'll be the one that gave them air cover. Well played, baby. Well played. So what I'm going to do here real quickly is I'm going to show you. I'm going to read to you. So I'm going to take myself off camera momentarily. I'm going to read something by Mike Norman. Mike Norman wrote a great paper. This paper is called, "Hey, Democrats, please stop talking about the trust fund." And he says, this is going back to 2014. It's a timeless paper, so it doesn't really matter what the year was. But he says, with the good news that Obama administration is dropping its proposal to cut Social Security through chained CPI, I figured it'd be a good time to do a refresher on how Social Security actually works. Although right-wingers probably want to destroy Social Security, I sometimes come across Democrats making false statements too. The worst and most common error is thinking that there are Social Security and Medicare trust funds. As innocent as this mistake may be, I cringe every time I hear it. Sorry, folks, but these trust funds aren't real. They exist only in a legal accounting sense. Guys, do you hear this? They exist only in a legal accounting sense. And here he gets even better. And he's like, unfortunately, many Americans hold views that range from thinking SS&M are not part of the government and thinking that SS&M are funded from payroll taxes, and the trust funds, neither are true. Want proof? And he goes through all the daily treasury statements that show the income statement for the federal government. I could show you this, but I will put the link in afterwards. I think that's probably more appropriate. Actually, I'll just put it right there in the comments right now. So here's this for you guys. I want you to really, really try your best to pay attention, because these are things that I think is so vital that if you don't get this stuff, we're in deep trouble. I mean, we are in deep, deep trouble, you know? This is the stuff that makes me like literally cringe. So I'm going to keep reading. I'm skipping past these. He says, the first line in the box says withheld income and employment taxes. The employment taxes part is that damn FICA tax that sucks away 7% of every dollar of our hard-earned income up to $112,000, that is. Now, folks, $112,000 and below is regular people, not even upper middle class. We're talking about middle, and lower class. That's ridiculous. We're carrying the weight of that anyway. There's no value in it. These revenues supposedly go into the trust fund, where they are either used to pay for benefits or saved for later. As you can see, this does not really happen. And so we're going to scroll down a little bit more. And he goes, both programs deposit into and withdraw from the same Treasury general account as all other government programs. It's clear just from the statement that the funds don't fund anything at all. When grandma gets her Social Security check every month, the check says Department of the Treasury, not Social Security Trust Fund. The Treasury describes trust funds as such. These are accounts maintained to record the receipt and outlay of monies held in trust by the government for use in carrying out specific purposes or programs in accordance with the terms of a trust agreement of statute. Notice how they use the word record and not deposit or withdraw. It's like if Congress passed a law allowing me to be called Justin Santapietro. Thanks, but I was already doing that. The numbers that show up in the trust fund are just accounting records for transactions that have already happened. There is no there. So that right there, I'm sure Justin Santapietro with the nice call out. I think that this is easily understood by people. And if it's not easily understood by people, then we've got a real serious intelligence deficit in this nation. And it goes beyond basic schooling. Nobody rated the spreadsheet, AKA trust fund. Do you understand? Social Security is not insolvent. This is partisan bullshit is what it's called. In the real world, we call it partisan bullshit. And for those of you who play volleyball partisan style, you're part of the problem. You are part of the problem. I'm not telling you to vote Republican. I'm telling you to stop drinking the Kool-Aid and lies. The lies, the worthlessness that comes from these lies. Meant to keep people like thinking that they're going to get a piece of coal in their stocking at Christmas time if they're not a good little boy or girl. It's the same kind of bullshit. Exact same bullshit led to make you believe something so that you fight for dear life and hold on like gripping. But if you think for a minute that Social Security is going broke, then you haven't been paying attention, and we've been doing this for an awful long time. And as long as I've been doing this stuff, Kelton, Mosler, Ray, Mitchell, Forstater, and others have been doing it for 30 years. Kelton's been doing it since the late 90s. You have Pavlina Trineva, you have Fidel Kaboob. Folks, James Galbraith, William Black, please don't allow anyone to ever talk about raiding the Social Security Trust Fund again without literally stiffening your back and presenting the truth. As innocent as it may seem to be that error prone, those errors are what's keeping our seniors starving. Those errors of judgment and intellect are what's keeping seniors from being able to take care of their own lives. It's what's keeping us from having really, really good single-payer health care or no single-payer, just flat out a national health service. It's these lies, these disgusting lies, that we're supposed to all be so sympathetic to because we just always knew it for years. And, we got to be gentle with people because they're going to be upset at us. I'm not willing to be gentle anymore, folks. I'm not willing to be gentle. I'm ready for a fight. I'm ready to freaking have a real good scrum. I'm ready to scrum it up. Because I'm sick to death of us being the one holding the very gun that kills us. I am sick of us being the one that holds the gun and then complaining that they're robbing the Social Security Trust Fund that doesn't exist. And then the Paul Ryans of the world come out ready to privatize it. I'd like to give us a pass and say, oh, we've just been lied to. Oh, my God. Who is this guy? Be careful who you listen to. Oh, my God. One of my admins, take care of that business, please. Talk to Stephanie Kelton sometime. Talk to her. Learn. It's time to learn. It's time to stop allowing them to keep cutting services. It's time to stop allowing dumb people to act like they have a right to scream and yell when they don't know what's going on. Like this person that says, who is this guy? I'm somebody that did the homework. That's who I am. Who are you? It is vital for our existence and for our grandparents and for our parents and for our children and ourselves. That we stop allowing the worthless lies and the myths some people that, who is this guy, believe. Because we're suffering as a result of it. And I will keep banging this drum until the cows come home. Where did they get the 700 plus almost $800 billion for the military? Did your taxes go up a penny for that? No. How come? Because who is this guy? That's why, right? Be careful who you listen to. We just spent $800 billion on the military, no problem. But gosh, who is this guy about Social Security? Who is this guy? Worthless. $800 billion without raising a single dollar in taxes, subsequently cutting taxes massively on the wealthy. And then we're sitting there talking about Social Security going broke. Are you fucking kidding me? Who is this guy? I'm the guy telling you how it is. That's who this guy is. And if you want to see a new deal, if you want to see Social Security last, I strongly suggest you look at the goddamn link I put in the chat there and take a minute to learn instead of thinking you got it going on, because you don't. If you're going against what I'm saying, you really don't got it going on. You don't. And it's not because I said it, it's because it's the facts. It's the truth. And it's time that truth win, not partisanship. It's time that we stop trying to save Social Security, and we just go ahead and make it so that it's a living wage. Why in the world make seniors live on peanuts? Why? Because someone wants to know, who is that guy? I'm the founder of Real Progressives, and I'm a guy that has spent very, very long time working with the economists and also reporting out to regular people about the economic truths that we tend to be lied to about. That's who I am. And I spend 7 days a week, practically 24/7 doing this. That's who this guy is. Be careful who you listen to. You're goddamn right. Stop paying attention to Paul Ryan and other idiots that talk about Social Security being raided and Social Security being broke and Social Security going, oh my God, we're all going to die. Stop letting them jerk your chain. Stop letting them make you believe that the government is somehow or another incapable of doing great things, because it can. We used to go to the moon. What happened? I'll tell you what happened. Who is that guy kind of people kept coming up. And politicians, because of Milton Friedman and the other fruitcakes of the 70s, these jackasses that made us all fear inflation and everything else, took away what we call the fiscal policy space. And so now all you ever hear is about monetary policy, which is just about bank lending, because they're trying to make it so that we go into private debt. That's the whole point of privatization. That way the banks get fat and happy, and that way everybody else gets fat and happy except for you and I. All the big businesses are thrilled because the government turned off the spigot and pushed us to the private sector for all of our needs, where they're chasing profit at our expense. And that includes Social Security. Don't be a fool. Be smart. Fight like mad. And who is this guy, people? Be sure to checkmate them, because they are literally the ones that are creating this problem. I'm Steve Grumbine with Real Progressives, the founder of Real Progressives, and that guy. Have a good night.